Hey guys, can you separate the art from the artist? And at what point does that become difficult? This is a subject I find really fascinating because it's so subjective and everyone's got a different thought and opinion on this. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. So when you watch this video, drop your thoughts in the comments below. And guys, if you like this channel, if you like music, if you like guitars, musicy things, please like, subscribe, follow the channel because I really love your input. This is a subject that I found really interesting and my thoughts on it change as I get older and we all have different experiences. Now this topic is obviously a very personal one to each and every individual really, so I wanted to kind of give my personal feelings on where my kind of boundaries are when it comes to being able to separate art from the artist, but also I wanted to look at a wider perspective, so I did a little bit of research and we'll have a look at that later in the video. But to make it really clear in this video, I'm not going to be talking about any specific actions people have done. So there's I guess a kind of trigger warning. I'm not going into any details, but lots of these people are well known. There are going to be some characters discussed in this video that have maybe not done some great things as far as the public psyche is aware. Let's start with kind of my thoughts. And I've got two examples I want to share with you. One of them is about a band that first really got me into music and how a person's actions in this band, once I became aware of them, made me really change my perspective. And it's because of a book that was released. It was this book. Lost the cover because it's quite old. I got it when it first came out. This is Scar Tissue by Anthony Kiedis. If you don't know Anthony Kiedis, he's the lead singer of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I'm sure some of you will have an opinion as soon as I've said that name. But I got this book at a time when I was really just in the biggest throes of discovering music. Lots of music I'd heard for the first time. So music was just the main thing. And I wanted to consume as much. And Chili Peppers were a big part of my early musical kind of experiences, particularly from a guitar standpoint. I thought this book was going to be a bit of chatting about Kiedis's life, and I hoped it was going to have lots of chat about how the Chili Peppers wrote music and inspiration for songs, and that's in here. But yeah, this book kind of surprised me when I read it, to be honest with you. It described a life of early childhood abuse, I would call it, and also maybe Anthony growing up in an environment where a lot of those traits were exacerbated. You know, he grew up in Hollywood, and we know just, you know, doing the basic research on the exploitative nature of Hollywood and the music industry, how characters that behave in harmful ways are kind of left to carry on, which is really sad, isn't it? Really sad. I came away from reading that book at quite a young age, feeling very differently about Kiedis as a singer. It also made me question people in bands that I loved as well around the same time, but I guess because I was younger, I was able to just, and I was so obsessed with music, I was able to move on, and it didn't really stop me from listening to the Chili Peppers, which is a naivety on my part, absolutely. I'll admit that. That book, I think, was important for me because it was the first moment where I really felt people in my bands are just people, and they're fallible, and like everyone else, and they've lived some crazy lives, let's put it that way. And as I get older, my relationship with art and the artist has changed, because that's what happens as you get older. You become more aware, and there are moments where you think, I can't get past that. And I'm going to give you a really clear example where that is the case. I cannot listen to this person anymore, if that's how you want to describe them. But anyway, I'm going to show you the album, and I'm actually, from a musical standpoint, gutted about this. I don't know if you can see that. This is the album, The Fake Sound of Progress by Lost Prophets, a band that I loved. Like the first couple of albums by this band, I absolutely loved. This album in particular, I loved it. Every single track I loved. Thought it was amazing when it came out. When did this come out? 2001 this came out. If you know anything about this band and the singer of this band, you'll understand why, for me, I cannot listen to this album or any of their music anymore. Again, I said the word gutted. I am genuinely gutted because some of the songs on here I love. I think it's also the fact that it's the singer that's most notorious in this band. You're hearing his voice all the time. It's just, I can't do it. You know, the members have said they didn't have a clue. So if that's the case, that they genuinely didn't have a clue, think of that, just their livelihood gone because of a disgusting human. Like, absolutely, that is a clear case where I cannot separate the art from the artist. And actually, I would feel horrendous knowing if I were to continue consuming stuff or buying stuff by that band, it would be supporting that person. My argument is, if you're aware of horrendous actions by someone and you still consume that, you're then potentially exacerbating and continuing that person's horrendous actions. That might be potentially where my line is, but we know it's a lot more nuanced than that, and every individual will have a different perspective, and that's what I wanted to look at in this video. I've done a little bit of online research, a few kind of different takes, so I thought it'd be interesting to have a look at that, and let me know your thoughts, guys. So let's have a look at some arguments for, against, and also a little bit of research into the topic of separating art from the artist, given the subjective nature of this. I've got to say, it's actually been really interesting researching this. So starting with this article from Metal Sucks, 62% of heavy metal fans can't separate art from the artist. This statistic is based from a survey done by TickPick in 2022. The full results are shown on the screen right now. But it shows that a decent whack of metal fans can separate the art from the artist. And I guess a good example of that is Pantera. A few years ago, Phil Anselmo said some choice words on stage that caused a bit of a ruckus. But let's fast forward to 2025. And now Pantera are headlining stadiums around the world. Don't get me wrong, the article and the study show that although music fans do expect accountability from their favourite artists, people are open to forgiveness. However, there are some people where it's a bit harder to forgive than others. Let's look at a different article, this time from the Harvard Crimson. This looks at art in a variety of genres. Obviously, we're focusing on music, but I think the sentiments apply to all forms of art, really. A good point raised in this article is the current culture of instant information and the buzzword of cancel culture. And actually, I think it does give a balanced view that it's important to be mindful about what we consume, particularly if we're aware of a person's actions. But actually, with art, it can be unreasonable to expect all of it to disappear given the popularity of such pieces. However, one of my favourite quotes in this article is, "Giving due respect and support to victims is more important than a piece of artwork." Let's scope this article from 2023 by Rolling Stone, and some of the points raised are that the individual should stand trial, not the art itself. They say that cancelling art affects more individuals than intended, i.e. wider creators and the wider audience. And also, music has always been historically a political protest tool, and who is given the right to decide who is right and wrong? So I think what this article is trying to do, that we've got to be careful when deciding whether to separate the art from the artist. And there's a good little quote at the end that says, "Be entitled to your views just as I am entitled to disagree." Absolutely, we don't have to always agree on everything. But I guess for me, it's at what threshold do you deem a person's actions enough so that you find it difficult to acknowledge or accept or enjoy the art any further? I guess it's up to every individual person to understand for themselves where that threshold is. Let's look at some of the younger perspective then. And I found a student website called the Oak Monitor, where there's an article stated, "Should we separate the artist from the art?" And there's a heavy emphasis on modern artists. A big one currently is Kanye West, and obviously what's coming out of his interesting Twitter account. I think this article veered more on being able to separate the art from the artist, even with people like Kanye West being mentioned. And some of the reasons that are noted are that nobody's perfect, art doesn't necessarily reflect the person, artists might be singing about something but have no correlation with them personally, music inspires more than the artists themselves. They also raise the point that streams don't earn the artist a lot of money. However, a counterpoint to that is that if that artist is benefiting, no matter how small, they can still continue to do the things that are causing other people harm. One thing I think we can't ignore is the impact of social media and how quickly feelings, thoughts can change, and how quickly people can be condemned for actions that have been raised. I recently came across an article saying that social media algorithms can change your views in just a single day. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a generalized study. I'm sure there's plenty of you guys that will see things online and realize this could not be real. Let's look into this a little bit deeper. However, bear in mind, there's lots of children, lots of young people who are still forming their thoughts and opinions, as well as obviously people with limited mental capacity that might see things online and that's it, their decision's made up. And given the context of art and artists, if something slanderous goes online, you can see how quickly that can spread like a wildfire. And we can all think of examples off the top of our head regarding this. Now I thought, look, we're hearing a lot of opinion pieces here, because obviously this matter is hugely subjective. But I wanted to explore, has there been any kind of study around this as to how we as humans experience art and how we're able to make that differentiation between the art and the artist? And luckily I found one that was completed in 2023. It's linked below, like all the articles I've mentioned here. I'm not going to go into all the geeky details because it's huge, but I would encourage you to have a look if you find this kind of thing interesting. I guess what they did is they showed a variety of pictures with some phrases allegedly linked to the artist and what they may have done in their personal lives and how people perceive the art once hearing things about the artist themselves. It's actually a really interesting study, but just to summarize, it does note that aspects of art reception are shaped by our knowledge about the artist, but also judgments about the quality of the art don't seem to be influenced in the same way. So that's really interesting. Ultimately, after looking at all this, it just shows how complex and how unique and how personal our relationship with art and the people that make this art is to us as individuals. And I'm not here to preach, I'm not here to tell you what's right or wrong, but I just found these statistics on Spotify with some artists that we might think are controversial, and it looks like a lot of people either aren't aware or don't care what the artist did, or maybe they are able to separate the art from the artist and they just want to hear some fat beats, do you know what I mean? Some tunes that they love. However, there is one statistic where I am really scratching my head here, mate. What the fuck is going on here? So yeah, some interesting perspectives there. And again, I think it just shows the subjective nature of this subject, and that actually it's going to be an issue for the rest of time, isn't it? Because everyone's views are going to be different. I think for me, when it falls into that bracket of us, when we become aware of, you know, it's undisputed someone's actions are being supported directly through their music, that's for me where I'm thinking, do I want to keep funding hate or really harmful behaviour? I'm not talking about some opinions that might offend me, do you know what I mean? Maybe political leanings or things like that. Because actually, it's important to have difference of opinion. You know, we need to be able to debate and explore and challenge ourselves. But when it's clearly abusive and harmful, for me, that I think that's probably my limit. Maybe people might disagree with me, and that's fine. But yeah, let me know your thoughts, because at the end of the day, this is just my opinion. I'm just a bloke chatting to a camera in a room about a topic that I find interesting, and I'd love to hear different perspectives. I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. So yeah, I hope this video has made some kind of sense, maybe made you think differently, or maybe made you think, what the hell is he chatting about? Let me know in the comments. Big thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, follow the channel, and yeah, take it easy, guys.